Hey guys, and welcome to my bonus video of the Klipsch RS72s. So the whole point of this video is to give you all a few tips that'll help you to maximize the performance out of these loudspeakers. So with that said, let's get right to it. Alright, so let's kick things off with some good news. And the good news is that these speakers work well in a wide variety of room types. Now what I mean by that is, typically when you buy a big set of speakers like these, you're going to need to put them in a big room in order to get great sound. Now, with the RS72s, however, you can put them in a medium room and even a small room and still get excellent performance. And it's really a testament to Klipsch's engineers because most big speakers sound like crud if you put them anywhere near a wall. So don't be afraid of buying these things if you have a small room and you don't really have a whole bunch of opportunity to pull these away from a wall. They should still deliver excellent performance. So with that said, now let's talk about positioning. Alright, so out of everything that I have to say in this video, this section is going to be the most important. And I say that because when most people buy speakers like these, they have this tendency of pointing the drivers directly towards their face. Now, in a way I understand why. Not only does it look cool, but the sound can be very exciting, it can be very forward, very detailed, and it can really recreate the sense of being at a live performance. But I've noticed that when you do this, the sound becomes very bright, and most importantly, the sound of the horn becomes very easy to discern. Essentially, it sounds like, well, a horn with two woofers playing. So you kind of lose that sense of realism because you hear the speaker at play. So what I recommend most people to do is to not point them directly at your face, but to instead have the drivers pointing towards the outside of your shoulder area. We're talking about a good 6 inches or so off of either direction. If you do that, what happens is the sound of the horn becomes far more integrated with the drivers. In fact, if you really play around with it, you'll get to the point to where you can't even really hear the artifacts of a horn, and all that happens is you're left with all the benefits of a high efficiency speaker. So you still get that realism, you still get the dynamics, you still get that great presence, but now the sound isn't going to be that bright and you're not really going to hear that horn nearly as much as you would with the previous configuration. So try that out if you can and let me know what you think. Alright, so now let's talk about equipment matching. Now, I'm going to be honest, I know a lot of you out there run these speakers off of receivers, and I know there's also a lot of you who plan on buying these speakers just to hook them up to a receiver of some sort. So there's good news and there's bad news to this. The good news is that, yeah, these things will work fine on a receiver. Most receivers have more than enough power to safely drive these things, so that's not an issue. But the issue comes in the form of sound quality. I hate to say it, but most receivers are not good enough to show you what these things are capable of. In fact, not even close. So if you're running a home theater setup, I definitely recommend using external power amplifiers on these things. And if you're running a 2-channel setup, then man, sky's the limit. And I say that because I've tried all different types of amplifiers on these things. Tube amps, different types of tube amps, different types of solid state amps. I've tried warm sounding gear, I've tried tell it like it is, linear sounding gear, and these respond to just about everything. And that's the cool thing about the RF72s is you can really kind of customize the sound that you hear, because if you like that tell it like it is approach, you like dynamics, you like detail, you like air, hook that kind of an amplifier up to them and enjoy that kind of sound. Meanwhile, if you like something that's warmer, a little more introspective, a little fatter sounding, then get that type of amplifier and boom, that's the sound you're going to get. So tubes, obviously a good match with them, and the great news is you don't need a whole lot of power. 10 to 15 watts per channel out of a tube amp and even a solid state amp is more than plenty for these speakers. That said, they do like their current. Even though they're 101 dB efficient, if you have a 200 or 400 watt per channel amplifier, then holy hell, these things are going to jam out and they're going to show you dynamics that nothing at this price point can approach. So that's the awesome news about these speakers. They're fairly easy to work with when it comes to equipment matching. Just know that if you're running a receiver, you're going to get good sound, just not great sound. And if you want great sound, that's when you start looking at higher quality integrated amplifiers or separates. So now, let's move on to some other things. Alright, so one of the questions I see a lot of people ask about these speakers is whether or not it's worth buy-wiring them. And that's a very loaded question, but in short, I would say, no, not really. In fact, you'll probably get better results if you were to replace the brass jumpers on the back of the speakers versus investing the extra money into a proper bi-wired cable. Now, with that being said, I think there are some other things you can do to get great sound. And one of those things includes these. So what are these? These are little cedar discs that you can buy at Bed Bath & Beyond. You can buy 20 of them for about $8. And what you do is you take a couple of these discs, as well as a cedar ball, you put them under the feet of the speakers, and what you're doing is you're essentially decoupling them from the floor. Now, I like the sound of these way better than I do a lot of cheap speaker spikes. And it's a very inexpensive solution, so it's only going to cost you $8 to give it a try. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up a picture real quick of what I've done. And there you go. So the last tip that I have for you guys is to consider listening to these speakers with the grills in place. I know, it's not going to look nearly as awesome, but for me personally, I tend to prefer this presentation just because the grills have this tendency of taking out the last artifacts of the horn and mitigating some of the brighter tendencies of the metal dome tweeter that they actually use inside that horn. Obviously, everyone's mileage is going to vary on this. It's an easy experiment. You just put the grill on, listen, take it off, listen, and choose what you prefer. I prefer them with the grills on. So with that said, that just about covers it. The last thing I'll leave you with is these speakers are not drop and plop speakers. Yeah, you can put them in a room, hook them up to a receiver, and get good sound. But if you want to understand just how great these are, you're going to need to give them some care, some love, and attention. These speakers, the presentation of them can change, honest to God change, with just a few millimeters of positioning. So when you do get them, be prepared to sit down and have a little bit of fun and see what works best for you. Anyways, I hope this video helped some of you guys out. If it did, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if it didn't, let me know what you think I could have included to have helped made it a little bit better. Alright guys, with that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.